good morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you all, the good and wonderful people of the tube. Hope you're well today, hope you're feeling grand, and always when you're hello to everybody. Today's video tube, we are going to be diving back into the Marshall Valve State 8100. I have done a video on this on Monday, where I was basically like, cleaning the pots, kind of cleaning the amp up as much as I can. And also fixing the reverb tank, which was broken by one lead had come away. So, but it's all up and running now. It sounds fantastic. So today we're going to dive into, usual thing. I'm going to show you my pedals first, let you hear how it sounds with pedals, how it takes pedals. And then we're going to plug a couple of different guitars into it, get a couple of different sounds, 4 or 5 different tones out of this thing. And basically just kind of have fun with it more than anything, people are true. So, this is basically, people who don't know what the 8100 is, the Valve State. This one dates to 1991. I think that puts it in the first year of production, I do believe. This is a very legendary amp, this one. This has been used by bands like Rammstein, Meshuggah, all sorts. And it's a very kind of legendary, heavy sounding amp. But as with anything with YouTube, this amp is so capable of so much more. So much more. It does, you heard it in the intro. It's absolutely, hopefully that came across okay, but it's absolutely gorgeous sounding. That was with pedals. Like I say, we'll get into kind of like pedal tones in a moo-moo, but let's just have a waffle first. So technically it's a 4-channel amp, but you can only use 2 at a time. So you've got a clean channel here, well, a normal channel, if you will. It's not technically a clean channel at this point in time, it's still a normal channel. It's got a clean mode and a crunch mode, and then you've got OD1 and OD2 over here. You've got an effects loop, you've got a 20 dB cut switch if you need it. You've got a dial to dial in how much, like say you've got a reverb or a delay in the effects loop. You have a dial here where you can choose how much of that you want, so you can have like all of it, or you can have like minimum amounts. It's really cool. I like that. I don't know why they don't do that more on effects loop. They have that on the Marshall MG as well, where there's an effects loop dial. You have to turn it on, otherwise the effects loop won't make any noise. And I quite like it. Anyway, got a reverb, spring reverb, Accutronics tank in here, which again I had to fix the other day, and a master volume. Got a line out, which we'll try today, and foot switch out as well, so you can channel switch. And I'm guessing turn reverb off and on if need be. And that's it, PeopleTube. On the back, it's just 2 speaker outs. That's your lot. It's very bare bones. It is a hybrid amp as well. It's a 100 watt hybrid amp, so it does have a 12AX7 ECC83 in there as well. I'm pretty sure that only works over the boost channel. Pretty sure of that. So EQ wise, normal channel is pretty straightforward. Gain, bass, middle, treble. On the boost channel, you have gain, bass, middle, treble, contour, and volume. And apparently, it was, from what I've read, it was the contour dial that a lot of these metal guys like, because it kind of scooped the mids in a way that was very kind of like pleasant, kind of like, to do that kind of like, heavy tone. And like I said, I really like the fact of like Rammstein, for instance, Richard from Rammstein, on I think it's their first ever tour in the 90s. Had one of these as a backup to his Mesa Boogie. You can see it in the rack. It's really, really cool. Anyway, I think that's enough waffle, people of the tube. Like I say, I'm really, really happy to have this amp. It is ace. And again, capable of so much more than just metal. It does that great, I'm sure. But again, not being a metal guitarist, I'm terrible metal guitarist. We'll kind of dive into that kind of like with my limited ability. But we're going to have fun with some other stuff as well. So first things first, I'm going to put my pedal board back in. And I'm going to let you hear how it takes pedals. I'm going into the boost channel for my pedals. As I always do. I've always liked to run my pedals into overdrive channels and just turn the gain down. So the channel is actually clean, but you're still getting this kind of like compression going on that just kind of like, just sounds nicer to my ear than running through a clean channel. There are some amps I love running my pedals through a clean channel, my Fender amps for instance, but this one, like all Marshalls, I'm going through the boost channel today, but I'll show you what the amp sounds like as is to start with, totally clean, and then I'll stick on the Golden Plexi and we'll go from there. And then after that, PeopleTube, we'll just plug a load of different guitars into this thing and get as many different kind of tones as we can out of it, really. I'm really looking forward to doing a surf tone because I really like the reverb in it. It's not quite enough for surf, but it'll do. It'll do. So, without further ado, let's do a tube. Let me show you how pedals sound through this thing, and then we'll just plug in a load of different guitars straight in, no pedals, and get as many different tones as we can out of this thing. But it's cool. Like I say, it's really cool to have this legendary amp in my possession for however long that may be. I can't see this as an amp I would have for the rest of my life, but you never know. Never say never, people who tube. I have learnt that one over the past many few years. Anyway, I've got great English. Let's make some music because this doesn't know what it's talking about anymore. Okay, YouTube. So there's my cack-handed attempt at metal there. And I say you heard other sounds as well. Like I say, this amp isn't just a one-trick pony. It isn't just a metal amp. It does so much more. I adored the Jag playing. The surfy kind of thing. That was insane. The only time I didn't have reverb on, by the way, YouTube, was for the metal... crap Dave metal at the end. I turned the reverb all the way off. But apart from that, the reverb was on all the way for the entirety. It never really gets in the way. It's a really subtle but lovely reverb, and I really like what it adds when it's flat out. When it's all the way off, it's perfect, that kind of like, really tight, metal-y kind of tone. But I like what the reverb adds to it. It kind of warms the amp up a little bit more. It makes it a little bit kind of less clinical. It's not sterile without the reverb on, which is nice. It's not this kind of like flat, nothingy sound. But I definitely prefer it with it all the way up. So, now what we're going to do, PibbleTube, as a final thing, we're going to check the line out. Because I'm curious. I'm always curious about how these line outs sound. Because I love DIing. I love that clean and clear signal you get straight from an amp. With a microphone, you can find a sweet spot, but you could knock it slightly, and millimeters on microphones makes differences. It's crazy. And again, being a consistency nut, I really like it when, there's a line out on there that sounds like the amp. Like my Marshall MG, the Boss Katana, the Super Crush up there. So let's try this out. So what you'll be hearing next is my pedal board plugged back into this thing, which I'll do now. And we're going to go basically... I'll basically go through my... again, I won't hear this either until I edit it, so I have no idea what it'll sound like. But, yeah, let me know what you think, PibbleTube. So it's going to come out, line out, straight into the Zoom camera, and, yeah. So you won't be hearing the microphone anymore. No more SM57. So just amp now. Let's go. PibbleTube, there you go, that's the line out. I just checked it on like really cheap phone earplugs and it sounded really good on them. So I can't wait to hear it on my monitors. That sounded really good. I'm really happy about that. The only thing I am kind of a bit upset about, and this goes for the Super Crush as well, is the line out is tied to the master volume. On my Marshall MG, the Boss Katana, certain other amps I've got that you can DI, you can have the master volume all the way off and the DI will still work, and I prefer that. So you can basically have the amp on total silent and just have it, especially when you're recording, it's really, it's a good thing. But this amp is the same as the Super Crush, where the master volume has to be up, so you have to have the amp making noise, if you will, through a cab. At the same time, I mean, and if that's live, that's fine. You know, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, I wouldn't sniff at that at all. It's just like, you know, personal preference. I would prefer the master volume not to be tied to the line out or the DI. I much prefer it if I can turn the volume off the amp and still have the DI running. But again, it's a personal thing. I don't really, you know, I'm not going to lose sleep over the fact that, you know, I'm not going to like be like, oh my god, it doesn't have it, it's ruined, it's a rubbish amp, no one should ever buy it ever again. Yeah. It's not going to happen. But yeah, anyway, enough whiffle waffle. People of the Tube, what are your thoughts on the Marshall Valve State 100 model 8100? This thing is a beast. Like I say, I think 1991 brings it to the first year of production, I think, which is really, really cool. I love it. I love the reverb. I love the way this sounds. It's a very dark sounding amp, people of the Tube. I will say that. That surprised me. I really expected it to be quite bright, but it isn't. You really have to work the EQ on this thing. To the point, with the Tube, where with my pedal board, I actually had to turn the treble up. And I have the setting of the beast. So I have gain at 6, no bass, because, you know, I don't want to get in the way of the bass, and I want to get into that mid range. Middle and treble were at 6. The contour was all the way on low, and I had the channel volume all the way up on 10, and then I had reverb all the way up on 10, and I ran the master about 9 o'clock ish, give or take, just a little bit above maybe. But yeah, so kind of like setting of the beast almost, kind of neighbour of the beast. Twice removed. Anyway, I love this thing. It sounds amazing. It's so cool to have a valve state. I've got the AVT, but it's really cool to have a valve state as well. I used to have the VS100, and that amp was amazing. And I sold that years ago because I needed money at the time. I had to sell it. So I'm really happy to have one of these things again. This thing sounds immense. If you see what immense, I've said that in a really weird way. If you see one of these things, people of the Tube, do not be afraid to try it. It does more than metal. It's a legendary metal amp. It really is. Like, so many metal bands have used this thing, and as far as I know, still use it because it's legendary status with bands like Rammstein and Meshuggah. Although I don't know if Rammstein ever used it in the studio. I know Richard had one. But there's loads of other bands as well. If you look it up, how many metal bands have used this thing, it's kind of crazy. It makes your toes curl, like how much has this been used. And the really cool thing is, in the early days of Meshuggah, if you look on their backline, you see these things. It's so cool. Anyway, but yeah, it does so much more than metal. You know, it'll do surf, it'll do gorgeous clean tones, it'll do blues tones, it'll do rock tone, it'll do heavy rock, it'll do everything. It will do everything. You know, it's not just a metal amp, you know. It really isn't. It excels at so much. It really does. Anyway, what do you reckon, people of the Tube? And also, have you ever had any experience with one of these things? Did you own one? You know, did you like it? Lump it? What did you prefer? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, what do you think to the line out? I really liked it. So, thank you much for watching, people of the Tube. I will see you again very soon for another video. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope it's been okay. I hope it's somewhat informative and enjoyable. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. If you like the channel, please consider becoming a Patreon a patron at Patreon. It's the only thing that keeps this channel going now, people. YouTube seems hell-bent on destroying this channel by not advertising my videos, not promoting my videos. There's no click-through anymore. There's no advertising on other pages anymore by the looks of it. Well, according to my analytics, it just doesn't show up anymore. It's just mental. I don't really know why or what I've done. Maybe it's because my channel's over 10 years old and they want me out of the way so they can get new and trendy people in, because let's face it, YouTube, I ain't trendy. I don't exactly conform either, do I, to you know, what the norm is. Anyway, but like I say, if you do like what I do here, please consider becoming a patron. It really helps me out. Like I say, it gives me the ability to keep this channel going. If Patreon went tomorrow, this channel goes tomorrow. You know, it's as simple as that at this point in time, and that breaks my heart because YouTube, like I say, seems hell bent on weeding out older channels like me, and other people who I follow just seem to be getting crushed by it as well. I don't really understand what the deal is there. YouTube what was it? For creative people. Yeah, right. for money. Anyway, let's not get waffled or bogged down with that. Also, link in the description to my Bandcamp page where you can go and listen to some music I've done over the years. Other than that, thank you so much indeed for watching. I'm not going to try not to think about YouTube destroying me too much, because it'll destroy me. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this vid on the Marshall 8100. This thing is amazing. Like I say, ain't just a metal amp. It's so much more than that. So anyway, thank you very much indeed. I'll see you again. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, and goodbye now.